Greetings guys, Unoptimized Fool here, and I want to introduce a new series to the channel where we're going to take all of the good articles and all the important information from World of Warcraft and compile it into a video for you. So this week's video has 6 parts, so 6 main articles I think are going to be the most important takeaways from World of Warcraft this week. So hope you enjoy and let's get right into it. So there are a couple of surveys going around World of Warcraft right now, sending the players. Now, I haven't received any of these surveys. I actually never get any surveys, so I'm not sure if I'm even on that list. But the survey that I want to talk about today is about the new class concepts for the game and kind of indicating that they're considering additions to the existing roster of classes. Now, the classes that I'm going to talk about today aren't necessarily going to be added in. Hell, even 0 of these classes could be added in, but it just seems like they're kind of testing the waters to see what class would be cool. Again, there's a big list of them. I doubt we're going to get all of them, but it's definitely fun to speculate and to dive right in. Alright guys, before we dive into the actual classes and the small description given to us by Blizzard, I do want to talk about this one line inside of the survey. Now before they talked about the classes, they did say, quote, "As a reminder, not all ideas that you will see here are currently considered or in development, and we ask you to keep all content of this survey confidential." Now obviously someone didn't listen and leaked all of this information, so Blizzard might not be happy about this, but we're still going to talk about it anyway. But without further ado, let's get right into the classes and the small descriptions provided. Just to let you guys know, the images you're about to see are 100% AI generated. The reason why I'm using AI generation is because all of this stuff is hypothetical and conceptual. It's not even conceptual art that we have. So that's the only reason I'm using this. Now obviously all the content that is current, I'll just be using in-game footage. Now eventually as the channel grows and we have more resources here, I do want to commission this type of art pieces out so we can get some money into the art community, because obviously AI is kind of impacting that, but just wanted to be clear. Enjoy. Our first class is Apothecary, and the description lists masters in the creation of potions and brews, which they use to harm enemies and empower and heal allies. They create unique combinations of elements, do give potions various effects, be explosive, toxic, or granting extreme power. The next one we have is Astrologian, which I believe I'm saying that right. The description lists mighty spellcasters that use the cosmic powers of the stars and gravity to deal devastating damage. They utilize celestial energies to cast spells, manipulate gravitational fields, summon meteor swarms, and create star explosions. The next one we have is Bard. The description lists supporter, healer, and tanks that utilize the Song of Azeroth to cast mighty spells, support their allies, and weaken their enemies. Bards shine in a group, empowering and improving the spells of others, and at the same time bringing numerous songs and auras to help their group reach new heights. We have Witch, which the description lists them as damage dealers and healers that use old magic to reach towards darker, natural powers. Their magic includes curses, familiars, rituals, spiritual connections, poisons, decay, and more. This class builds onto the teachings of witches and dark magicians of WoW, including the witches of Drusvar, the Ghanaian harvest witches, the decay gnolls, and troll hexes, and spirit magic. Now here's an interesting one. We have Celestial Lancer. The description says warrior that use spears and titan magic that are empowered by the gods for quick jumps and strikes. Battle Mage, which is described as battle mages empower their weapons with the might of the elements to aid their allies, weaken foes, and create constructs to control the battlefield. Another class mentioned is the Artificer, which the description listed as melee-based tanks, damage dealers, and healers that use a mix of handmade machines and Titan technology. Mechanic reactive gear is the foundation of their power, while utilizing new weapon types like extendable flails or reactive shields. This class is on the front lines of battles and protects and supports their team with their inventions. Now, this list of classes is so long, we're actually going to a new page here on the survey. Now, the next class here is Ley Weaver. Now, Ley Weaver is described as connecting via ley lines to the natural powers of Azeroth. Their connection to these arcane power lines allow them to move quickly among them and to manipulate the unseen energies that flow through everything. They help allies, deal damage to enemies, or buff and debuff as wanted. We have Gunner, which is described as quick, offensive range combat characters that wield two pistols at the same time. They apply different elemental effects to their weapons to create the deadliest arsenal of destruction against their foes. Another class I want to talk about is Prismatic. Now, they're described as heirs to titanic power. Prismatics are carriers of cosmic powers that can not only be used in their purest forms, but their transcending powers can be merged to new powers. They refine and focus the power of life to heal allies, or the powers of order to protect themselves, or they merge the combined powers of death and shadow to deal damage to enemies. Gunslinger, which is described as cunning and agile melee combatants that use two pistols at once. Their sharp eyes allow them to see the weak points of enemies and deal with them quickly. The next class that I want to talk about is the Titan Killer, which is very odd to say. Now, this is described as Titan Killers combine the sword fragments of Talashach and Gorabal, which, again, I'm going to butcher these two names. I suck at these types of names. To use the powers of Gorshlosh and connect to the cosmic powers of the Titans to destroy any threat to Azeroth. We also have Necromancer, which is described as summon an army of undead that follow your commands and overrun enemies in combat. They combine different summoning spells to build the perfect army. The next class I want to talk about is a fan favorite, Tinkerer. So this is described as genius innovators who have uncovered the secrets of Titan technology and using it to protect their allies, heal wounds, and attack enemies. Through their understanding of machines, Tinkerers can create inventions like custom-made skills and spells, control mech suits, and deploy mechanical constructs to create an advantage in combat. Our second to last class, Warden, is described as versatile armored hunters who, with their art of chakrams and traps, devastating range and melee attacks. Now, the last class mentioned in this survey is Spellbreaker, which is described as melee characters that specialize in combat against magical powers. They ward magic, but they can also empower their gear with the magic of their enemies to improve their combat capabilities. So just to give my reaction to all of these classes, it seems like some of these descriptions and names are more fleshed out than others. Some of them only have 1 or 2 sentences, while others have 4 or 5. So that might sway kind of the survey in those ways. Again, some of these are pretty cool, mostly around Titan type of technology, so we're definitely diving straight into Titan lore and powers that we obviously are going to unlock in Midnight in the Last Titan. Now, it should be interesting. Again, that Titan Killer one is very interesting because, again, we're starting to get into some lore indicating that we might not be so friendly with the Titans because, again, the Titans seem to be really only focused on themselves and only using us, it seems. It could change, obviously, and again, this is all speculation. 0 of these classes could be made, but it's definitely interesting to see the overall direction of what Blizzard's thinking with this survey. And to kind of wrap up this segment, I kind of want to talk about, again, the survey aims to engage the community, get everyone's opinion, and it's good to involve the players in the discussions. Obviously, the game designers end up making the right decision at the end, hopefully the right decision. But this kind of move indicates that Blizzard's commitment to evolving the game, maybe even past the traditional classes. Now we're getting to more cosmic powers, gunslingers, right? Almost like Diablo-esque type of classes. So WoW's certainly maturing over these days, and the classes seem to maturing too. So it seems like maybe potentially refreshing some gameplay. I mean, we saw that kind of with the Evoker, right? Diving into new ways we can play the game with support classes, maybe more of those are planned in the future. So it's fun to see where this is going, and hopefully we get some more information about this soon, but we might be in the dark until they announce it officially. The World of Warcraft community has grown increasingly frustrated with items that lack a vendor sell value, forcing players to manually delete them, which is time-consuming and tedious. The suggestion put forward by this article suggests a minimum vendor value like 1 copper to streamline the inventory management. So imagine this, you're doing holiday events. Now Hollow's End is one of the biggest offenders of this, and after a while your bags are packed with all sorts of loot. Now some of this can be used, but obviously if you already completed the event, there's a catch, right? Some of these items can't be sold because they don't have a vendor value. Instead, you're left with the tedious task of manually deleting each one by one, which can really take some time out of your day. So the community has really had enough. Inventory space is at a premium ever since 2004. It still is in the War Within. So there has been a growing call for Blizzard to implement this, and this article kind of highlights that, where just make these items worth at least 1 copper. With that way, instead of deleting, players can actually just simply sell them off, saving time and reducing frustration. Because if you don't want them, you're gonna have to go delete, delete, delete. You can now just sell it 1 copper. And again, I'm not too worried about the economic impacts, because again, 1 copper each, you're not going to get more than like 1 or 2 silver. It's not going to impact it that much. Again, it's not just about the copper. The money impact here isn't that big. It's about the quality of life. War Within has been a lot of quality of life things. It'd be really neat to see either in Midnight or at the end of the War Within, we see this type of change be implemented, right? So again, players suggest that even if these items must remain unsellable for some reason, if they're worried about the economic impact for some reason, perhaps they could even stack or have larger stack size just to ease the inventory burdens, because again, some items only have 5 stacks. I know that we've gotten a little bit better since 2004, but there are still some odd cases here and there. And again, inventory space is at a premium, as collectors may say. You know, there's a lot of improvements that we can do to our inventory, and I think this is one of those steps. Whether you're a seasoned raider or just starting your journey in Azeroth, we can all agree that managing our inventory shouldn't be part of the combat challenges or any challenges that we experience inside this game. It should be nice and easy to use, and again, this is just one of the things that you could do to reduce some of that challenge. And so let's hope Blizzard hears this call and makes our adventures a little less cluttered, because we all need that at the end of the day. So to give my opinion about this, I believe that the 1 copper solution for selling these items is probably going to be the best option. Again, just a quality of life thing. It's not going to be the end of the world to have the dragon item out and delete it, but it does get tedious after a while, and just taking that pain point out just makes the game run smoother in my opinion. Again, I don't think it's going to affect the economy that much. Again, 1 copper, the max you're going to have is probably like a silver or 2, and I don't think that's going to really ruin the economies. And because even for those items, you have to kind of work for them too. Now, Hollow's End is the biggest offender, I find, but obviously other events have some smaller items here and there. So I think overall, I think this will just change. It's not going to be a major change, but I think a small change, again, they add up over time too. Garrisons in World of Warcraft, which were introduced in Warlords of Draenor, were meant to serve as a pseudo-player housing, but fell short in several key areas. They were criticized for making the game feel less social by isolating the players, tying too much gameplay to the garrison, and lacking aesthetic customization. Now, the reason I'm bringing this back up is because we have player housing coming in Midnight, and we hope that they will learn from their past mistakes. But I kind of want to discuss that further on 2 major things that they can fix. Garrisons were pitched as the ultimate player housing experience, but players quickly found themselves more isolated than ever, tucked away in their own personal fortress with little incentive to explore the wider world of Draenor. So where did it all go wrong? For starters, garrisons tied too much of the gameplay loop to staying within your base. You had crafting to mission tables. It felt like the game was encouraging players to stay put rather than engage with the community. Customization was also limited to functional buildings rather than aesthetic personal touches that make a space feel more like home. Now let's take a step forward, right? As we look towards the future with Midnight expansion promise of a quote-unquote true player housing, Blizzard is hopefully taking these lessons to heart. Now, we hope that the new system won't be about power or gating content. Instead, hopefully it's designed to foster social connections, avoiding the isolation that garrisons inadvertently created. So what can we expect? We don't know too much about this system, but we hope to expect a more integrated, community-focused approach to housing, where players can show off their achievements, perhaps even in the bustling centers of major cities, or whatever major hub is in Midnight, rather than the solitary confines of a garrison tucked away in some random corner of Draenor. Now the question remains, will this be the housing system that finally satisfies the long-standing desire for a personal space in Azeroth? Now only time will tell. Obviously we'll get beta and hopefully we can test out there. But with these insights, Blizzard has a chance to get it right. Now my opinion about all this is kind of one that aligns with the article here. One, don't align power to the player housing, just make it cosmetic. You can just make it optional too. If you don't want to make a house, you don't have to. It's for the people who want to collect things, show off their virtual achievements. It'll be nice. And also too, don't isolate me from the people. Have it inside the major hubs so I can see other houses potentially. Again, we don't know much detail about the system, but as long as you don't force me into, gaining power in these houses or just forcing me to be in these houses in general, have it be optional, then I think you'll have a really nice system that can be used as an expression and less of a chore. World of Warcraft introduced its first companion pet with teleportation capabilities, which is currently available on Chinese servers. Now, this pet can teleport players to any Mists of Pandaria dungeon or raid, offering a novel quality of life feature. Now, it's currently priced at 16 USD, which is significantly more expensive than the typical pets, which is sparking discussions on its potential global release and the implications for gameplay and monetization. Now, before we continue talking about this new pet, I do want to say obviously we know it's on Chinese servers, and the reason why we think it might be coming to EU and US servers is because of data miners. Data miners have found in some sort of shop location there is a tag for a panda portal type of pet. Now, we can obviously assume since this is a panda companion, as well as it has portals, we can assume that it could potentially come to the US and EU, depending on the reaction, and reactions have been kind of mixed. Now, recording this article, it has been warmly received in China, but it's stirring up quite the debate elsewhere, both in EU and US. On one hand, people are saying it's a neat quality of life feature for those nostalgic for Pandaria's rich content. On the other, it's raised eyebrows over the monetization of convenience, with some players worried that this might lead to a more pay-to-skip gameplay mechanic. Now, again, there's buzz around this pet potentially making its way to Western servers, as I said before, but nothing's set in stone. So this could just blow over, and this article is really nothing. Now, if it does come to EU and US, would you be willing to shell out for this teleportation companion, or do you think it's a step too far in turning WoW into what some critics call a lobby simulator? Now, as we keep an eye on this development, remember, in the vast world of Azeroth, even the smallest pet or gameplay mechanic or small anything can have the biggest impact. Now, my opinion about this pet is the same as the $90 mount with the auction house and the mailbox on it. I think it's a terrible idea for WoW. It's pay for convenience. Remember, all of these things that you're paying for, the portals to get the raids and dungeons in Mists of Pandaria, and with the mount, to access the auction house, access the mailbox, is already in the game for you to access. You already pay $15 a month to access this information and systems, and yet you pay more to access it at a more convenient rate. We are paying for convenience. That's just no way around it. We're paying for convenience here. And that is a deadly path to go down. Because again, it's going to make the world smaller, and everyone's going to be isolated on their mounts using their pets. You won't see people flying through the world anymore. But on the other hand, no one's really listening because Blizzard made millions of dollars on the $90 mount, and I'm sure they're going to make at least a couple million on this pet if it comes to EU and US servers. Blizzard, in a recent survey, is considering a significant change to Mythic Plus dungeons in World of Warcraft, potentially replacing the timer with a limited death counter. This proposed change has sparked a debate among players. Again, proponents argue it would reduce the stress and encourage strategic play over speed, while critics worry it might slow down gameplay, increase toxicity around deaths, and fundamentally alter the challenge and appeal of Mythic Plus. Now, we've had the same Mythic Plus systems, of course, minus some changes over time since Legion, but imagine this. Instead of racing against the clock, your group's success hinges on how many times you can avoid death. It's an interesting twist. Now, the thinking is it would reduce the stress of always needing to go faster, allowing for more tactical gameplay where each move counts, just like we see in Delves. Now, supporters of this change, after seeing the survey, argue it emphasized skill and strategy, making Mythic Plus more about execution than speed. They also say it would open up the meta to different playstyles and class compositions, not just those optimized for speedruns. Now, of course, since it's the internet, not everyone's on board with the above statement. Now, critics are saying, after seeing the survey, they're concerned this might lead to even more stress, but this time over each death, potentially increasing toxicity in groups. They worry about gameplay becoming slower, with teams waiting for cooldowns between pulls, which could drain the excitement out of what's known for its fast paced nature. There's also the question of whether this would actually make Mythic Plus more accessible, or if it would just change the nature of the challenge. Now, as of right now, all of this is still in a survey, so obviously it's not in the game yet, but they are gathering feedback through the survey, so your voice could actually shape the future. So every time you do get a survey through Blizzard, definitely fill it out. Now, again, this survey is asking, would you prefer a world where your dungeon run success is measured by your ability to stay alive, rather than how quickly you can clear? Again, the debate rages on. Only time will tell if Mythic Plus will keep its timer or embrace the death system, just like Delves. Now, my opinion on this matter is I do agree. I think we need to change something for Mythic Plus. I personally don't enjoy Mythic Plus. I do indulge in the content. I have a 2.2k rating as of this recording. I do high end Mythic content, but it's not that enjoyable. I do think the timer causes more stress because, again, numbers ticking down, it does cause stress. Again, that's just for me. So I do personally believe that just like the Delves, I think bringing a death counter in will slow things down. But I'm also a little bit worried about how it, you know, will impact the casual base because, again, casual base players don't have much time to play. Mythic's already around 30 to like 40 minutes. They would definitely increase in time due to the fact that everyone's slowing down. So would that even give them time to do at least one mythic per day? I'm not sure. Again, there's a lot of ifs, ands about this type of system, but I am definitely on board to try it out. Maybe we can live in a world where both of them exist. I don't know. But I definitely want to see some big changes to Mythic Plus because right now, something needs to change. Blizzard is set to reduce the reliance on add-ons like weak ores in World of Warcraft raids starting with patch 11.1. Now the goal is to make raid mechanics more intuitive and engaging by limiting add-on functionality and introducing better in-game tools for player guidance. This move aims to counteract the trend where add-ons have sometimes trivialized complex raid mechanics, potentially disconnecting players from the intended gameplay experience. In the upcoming patch 11.1, Blizzard is taking steps to lessen the role of add-ons like Uyghurs and raid encounters. So the idea is to make the game more accessible without needing third-party tools to interpret complex mechanics. Now, senior game director Ian has highlighted that while add-ons have been beneficial, they've sometimes made encounters feel less engaging by automating too much of the gameplay. So what does this mean for us, right? Raiding, Mythic Plus, what does it mean? Blizzard plans to introduce more intuitive in-game cues and tools, aiming to ensure that everyone can enjoy the core gameplay experience, not just those with the right add-ons. This shift could lead to raid fights feeling more challenging yet rewarding, as players engage directly with the mechanics rather than just follow add-on prompts and guidance. Now, obviously, with these interviews and these articles being put out, the community has mixed feelings. Some worry about losing the edge provided by add-ons, while others are excited about the prospect of a more level playing field and return to the roots of raid design, where understanding and teamwork are key. As we move forward, Blizzard's focus on enhancing in-game features might just redefine what it means to be raid-ready in Azeroth. Keep your eyes peeled for these changes and let's see if we can actually make raiding fun again without the need for an extra screen filled with add-ons. To give my opinion about this, I do think we have a dependency issue on these add-ons. I think the steps that Blizzard's taking, hopefully they are large steps because again, this dependency on add-ons I feel is making us weaker players. We're letting these add-ons make the decisions for us. And I feel if the add-on ever failed in mid-encounter, people would have no idea what's going on. So I hope that they either change how much data they can scrape or just delete them outright. I think that would be best for the game. Now there will be moaning and groaning when it first starts, and happens, but I believe that eventually it'll make us better players and we feel more in tune with our encounters, and they don't have to be super complex because these add-ons are super complex too. Alright guys, that concludes the first episode of our weekly recaps. Again, I take all the important news and kind of condense it into one video for you to indulge. This is going to be the end of this video, but this will be coming out every Monday for the foreseeable future. So hope you enjoy. Now, if you have any suggestions or comments or anything that I missed, definitely put it in the comments down below. And if you enjoy the content, definitely hit subscribe and do whatever you want to do. So I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.